Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share my full review, the digitally digested segment for the Sony 40mm compact G-series prime lens. This is an f2.5 piece of glass, and again, part of a trio that Sony rolled out specifically for cameras like the A7C. I say cameras because I do anticipate we're going to see more models in this compact line of full-frame mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras from Sony. But right now, the A7C, of course, is the first of its kind. Now, at $600 US, this is, I think, a great value. Hard to go wrong with. I say the same pretty much of all of the new compact primes from Sony. They're well made. They have weather sealing, although I do not recommend anybody get them wet. They all have, of course, a focus switch. They also have a customizable button right there. And then, of course, for the aperture, which is a clicky style aperture ring, you have a click switch, which I absolutely love. I've said it over and over again. If you've watched my other videos, my love affair with this switch began on the RX1 and lives to this day on many other lenses and Sony cameras like the RX10 Mark IV. It's just a great thing for hybrid shooters that enjoy shooting both still and video, because obviously you want the click off when shooting video. Now, 40 millimeters, out of the gate when I first got this, most of the word on the street from other reviewers that had had it in their hands prior to me was that the 40 was the most sharp in the range. And that may very well be the case. But what I will say is that I also find it to be the least useful of the different focal ranges offered in the trio. So the trio, if you're not aware, 24 millimeter, 40 millimeter, and 50 millimeter. The 24 millimeter is my favorite. The 40, I guess if you use this button to throw it into APS-C crop mode, it becomes more of a portrait lens, but I just find the 40 mil to be an awkward, if not questionable, lens altogether. I'm not sure, 24, 40, 50, I don't know. But I'm not the manufacturer, I'm not Sony. I review these things, right? So, as well as many other things in the electronic realm. So what I can tell you is that at $600, this is an incredibly competent lens, and if 40 millimeters is the desired focal length that you're going for, you won't be upset with this, again, matching with the A7C. And I've kind of said this about all of Sony's compact G-series primes that they launched. I don't recommend them for A7R series cameras. They're just not built to resolve the resolution, the number of megapixels that you'll find on the A7R 2, 3, or 4. So that's really a moot point. But in terms of fit and finish and balance on the A7C, they're all pretty much perfect. And the fact that they're affordable, which is not something you generally expect from Sony, the fact that you can buy 3 lenses, have a 24, 40, and a 50 all in a bag, small compact system, and it's still affordable, really the price of one lens usually in the full frame prime world. Not all of them, but in the G Master realm, like the new 14 millimeter $1,600 piece of glass that I hope I can control myself not to buy. I've said this in other videos, I'll say it again. This is really refreshing, and it's a testament to Sony's commitment to making the less is more a reality again in their DI lineup. So from a still and video perspective, the lens does perfectly well, but the 40 to me again is the most awkward of the focal ranges. To me, the 24 and the 50 are where it's at. They all have very similar performance. They're all sharp, very little issues, when it comes to distortion, when it comes to bokeh, however you want to pronounce it. They all have the ability to produce, but that's not where they shine. They're not incredibly expensive lenses. They all have some level of focus breathing, like any other lens, I would say, in its class and at its price point. Again, I mentioned in my review of the 50 millimeter version of this compact prime, don't forget Sony's old, yet still incredibly competent and relevant f1.8 55 Sony, that is their Zeiss, that used to be their cream of the crop. Of course, they parted ways with the Zeiss branding, at least in terms of literal lenses. They still use it on cybershot cameras and in other instances, but when it comes to lenses, of course, Sony replaced Zeiss with the G Master brand, and I think they're better for it. They needed to do it. They didn't buy Konica Minolta to scratch their heads. They purchased Konica Minolta to become a force to reckon with, and boy, have they come full circle. So this 40mm lens, I think, is good. Again, I prefer the 24 and 50 in this compact, and I will say, even though this isn't a comparison video, the Sigma 45 I personally prefer over this. Granted, it's only $50 less. It doesn't have the customizable button. It doesn't have the click switch. I just feel like the overall quality, the build quality, and the performance of the lens is a little bit better. And I find the fact that it's 45 is actually a little less awkward, believe it or not, because again, in APS-C crop mode, even though we don't have a customizable button to switch over to, a little bit longer, at least for me personally, the way I shoot, equates to more usefulness. But that's just my personal opinion. And I am not doing a comparison of these two lenses because they are not apples to apples, but I do have to put it out there. For those of you that are wondering, I do think they're really close. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these. If you know you need a 40mm, then the Sony is the way to go, especially with the click switch, the customizable button. It's a no-brainer. But if it at all appeals to you, if you specifically know you want 45, of course, I would say go with the Sigma. But overall, a solid lens. I think Sony's doing it right. They've got their act together. They're giving us compact primes, affordable pricing. They're really lightweight. I mean, literally 6 ounces. My only real criticism, besides the fact that I personally don't find the 40mm useful, which is only, again, personal. Many of you out there may be lusting for a 40mm lens, is the lens hood. And I have the same issue with the 50mm. I'm just not a fan of this inverted lens hood design. It reminds me of the lens hood that Sony used on their original 35mm prime full frame lens, which again was a Zeiss Sony lens back when they launched the A7. I would like to see a normal lens hood. And of course, that's something generally you can just do in the aftermarket, but it's just a strange, I don't know, I guess Sony wanted to keep identity, and I just can't help but feel like this offers incredibly limited protection and functionality when it comes to doing what a lens hood should do. But that's not a reason to forego it. In fact, God knows how often I shoot without lens hoods to begin with, so I'm really making mention of that because I know there are a lot of you out there that are particular about your lens hood and what you expect out of it. And I feel like that's the reason Sigma went out of their way to make more robust and metal as opposed to plastic lens hoods. And I feel like Sony took a step backwards on this. Again, I generally don't use lens hoods unless I know I'm going into an environment where I feel like I will absolutely need it. Dry, sandy environments is a good example, like the Middle East, anything desert related, or anything where foreseeably, you're on a boat, some splashing's going on. Those are the key areas where I think I know I want to have that lens hood, but generally I have it reversed. But with this, I can't help but feel like this is, forget that it's plastic, I'm pretty sure it certainly feels like it, and on the 50 as well, I just don't feel like it's going to give me the protection that I expect out of a lens hood. So I don't think this should influence your ultimate decision to buy the 40mm, but it's something I got to, be completely clear and try to be concise about, even though I tend to be repetitive. It's just something, don't have high expectations about this lens hood. Do not. So I feel like Sony took a step backwards on that. Generally, they're pretty competent and good about giving us solid lens hoods on the 40 and the 50. I just don't feel that way. Even on the 24, which I love, again, in their prime trio of lenses for the A7C, even that lens hood, I'll bring it in because I do have it over here, leaves a little bit to be desired. I mean, it is such a short throw. I mean, when I compare it to the Sigma series of compact, I mean, Hello. It's just a world of difference. And again, these are both 24 mils. If you didn't see my comparison of these two, check it out. They're both fantastic lenses. It's really a matter of personal preference at the end of the day, not whether or not you're a fan of Sony or Sigma, although that, of course, plays into people's decision making as well. But just a much more robust hood, not just in that one's plastic, one's metal, but the actual breadth of coverage. At any rate, the 40 mil, if again that's your desired range, you're not going to be disappointed with its performance on the A7C. But just like I did with the review of the 50 mil in the Prime Compact Trio, I'm going to say it again here in this video. Don't overlook the old f1.8 It's still incredibly good, and I would argue optically better than the 40 or 50 mil new compact lenses. And it's still small enough. It doesn't have the modern benefits that these lenses do in terms of, again, the click switch, the customizable button, or even a focus switch. But optically, I do think it's better. But that pretty much sums things up. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.